Assalamu alaikum. All right. Thank you all so much to our guests that are joining us today. Thank you so much for joining our program today. We're so excited to have our dear sister, Sarah Rose, and she will talk a little bit more about herself. But as usual, we're going to open up in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I greet all of you again in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Listen, this is an exciting day. We get to learn about something new. I just want to remind our guests that'll be coming in why we're even doing what we're doing. Sister Melody and I want to play our very small part in doing what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has asked us to do, which is to grow our own food. And he's been asking us to do that for a while, us being the nation, really, asking us to grow our own food and alerting us to the fact that the food quality is deteriorating. But I tell you what, we can bear witness to that right now, that the food quality is not what it used to be. And so our health is in jeopardy. And so that's what this show is about. And it's about showing you that you can grow your own food. You don't have to have a gigantic farm. We talk about pots and container gardening. So that's what we're going to continue to talk about today. We're going to talk about Build-a-Lease. There's a Build-a-Lease tool if you do want to do some planting and you don't have your own land. So our beautiful sister, Sarah Rose, is going to talk to us about that. Sister Melody, take it away.
Okay, yes, audience, today we are honored to have Sarah Rose. We had Renee Rose before.
Yes.
Now we have Sarah Rose. So Sarah Rose is from Connecticut. She's going to tell us some things about herself and what inspired her to get involved with what she's doing. And we hope you learned something from our podcast today. So Sarah Rose, go ahead and take over.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, sisters. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. And I greet you in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sis.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Sister Sarah Rose. I'm in Hartford, Connecticut area. I was born and raised in West Hartford, now live in Windsor, which is right still in the Hartford area. And I was not raised at all in touch with farming or, local quality food at all. It wasn't until actually after college, I worked at just, a health food store, a nutritional supplement store that was, somewhat related to my majoring in college. And it was like science related. And they partnered with a local farm. So as, workers in the store, there were customers who would come in and pick up their box share of fresh, produce dropped off from the farm. And as workers in the store, we got a share of that produce. And so this is me in my, mid 20s. And we, as workers in the store, got a share of that produce for free. And so weekly, I started, eating some of this fresh produce. And it was like my mind was being blown, like biting into a cucumber and feeling like I've never had a cucumber before. Like in terms of this, what this is, freshly harvested that morning from the farm,
right,
is just not the same thing that I thought. We think we know what real food is, and then we realize what, if you have it really fresh, locally grown from the farm, that wow, we're all living in a food desert of some sort of
right.
The food quality that they have, for us in the, mainstream is just so far from what Allah created it to be. We'll just put it that way. And so it was tasting that really blew my mind. I decided to just work a summer at the farm just as a temporary summer job, not thinking it would really change my life to be. So I ended up working at this 25-acre organic vegetable farm. They had a CSA. So I was just part of the farm crew, and I was also the wholesale manager. So I, did all of the farming activities, but I also worked with the restaurants and different, wholesale accounts to try and reach out and get other wholesale accounts for the farm. And so I would do specialty harvests of herbs and other, kind of niche items, as well as just was learning how to farm and grow the food organically. And as I was learning, what was also going through my mind was, this is not equitable and accessible the way it should be. Like this this kind of even exposure to the farm is really in these privileged white wealthy communities.
Right.
And right from the beginning, that disturbed me, and just was planted, a seed was planted of, okay, well, I should learn how to do this, with the objective of sharing it,
Exactly.
in a more equitable way. And, it was kind of interesting the way Allah, brought me into farming was like a similar parallel pathway to bringing me into Islam. So they were kind of like parallel, pathways. Like as I was learning about Islam, I was learning about farming, and was kind of learning about part of my assignment that I feel Allah, has kind of dropped it in me for the whole purpose. Why, what is the importance of farming? Because as both of you sisters said, it's so important. As the Honorable Minister Liz Farrakhan teaches, it's the time and what must be done.
Exactly. Yes. So tell us more about this, particular area that you like focusing on, with the leasing.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So fast forward, from when I started working on a farm, I did eventually start my own business called Samad Gardens Initiative. And and through that experience, most of us young farmers, of all races, really, the younger generation cannot afford to purchase a farm. If we want to start getting into farming, there's such huge obstacles to even being able to access land. And one of the resources that Allah blessed me to come upon is this tool by an organization based out of New Hampshire called Land for Good. So they're a nonprofit, and they developed this tool based on their work with farmers, attorneys, like legal representatives, on how to draft a lease, because there's so much to think about. There's so much to think about when it comes to farming on land that you don't own, both as a landowner that, let's say you do have some land, you want to partner with, a farmer to, grow food on the land. And just as a farmer, there's things that both parties really need to be aware of that you just might not know what questions to ask, like what kind of things that come up, what kind of resources do you need as a farmer that, we all get excited about, starting to grow our own food. But then when there's a drought, who's responsible? Is it the landowner? Is it the farmer? So all of these issues, it bears, being able to think through in a template form, so like questions that are prompting you to think about these things before you plant and invest all of this time, resources, energy into land, just to find out that, that the relationship isn't going to work out, or that, the landowner doesn't want you to stay for a long enough amount of time for it to be worth all of the investment you're putting in as a grower.
Right.
Yeah, and this was definitely informed by personal experience. We started farming actually in the city of Hartford, just in community garden plots, and we farmed on like 5 or 6 different parcels of land in like 6 or 7 years of being in existence. And that's really hard to invest and improve the soil and put all this work in, just for the landowner to say a year later, oh, I'm sorry, thanks for building up my soil, but I'm, don't want to continue to have you here. So, and especially, so we want to,
So are you leasing a piece of land now? And is the land that you leasing, or are you living on it?
Yes, good question. So I'm not living on the piece. So yes, ma'am, I am leasing land right now. And a good, so this is time to talk about land tenure. So when you talk about a lease, how long is the lease term? So a 1-year lease term, it might be a good start, but it's not considered a great deal for the farmer, because again, you just are getting started, right? And then, that if the tenure is up and the landowner decides not to renew it, then it's like you have to start over from square one, right? So a good starting point is like a 5-year lease. So at least you have, once you establish a contract, they can't kick you out in 5 years. So at least in 5 years, there's a good enough time for you to be able to invest and get some kind of return on your investment as a farmer. And so the lease term I currently have is a 5-year rolling lease. And so we work with we are able to lease land at an agricultural nonprofit. So it's a 120 acre property that they're using for a lot of other things, the 4-H, education, and they have all these children's programming. So we just have a small, 3/4 of an acre that we lease from them. And, like I talked about this with the director of this institution, Our Farm. And she was aligned with the vision, both for our farm, but also we run an incubator farm program out there where, intentionally we're striving to make space for new and beginning, Black and Indigenous farmers in the area that would like land access. And so I've sort of stepped up to help navigate those relationships with the director to get equitable leases to new and beginner farmers that need access to land. Because that is the major challenge. That is definitely the major challenge. And so she was aligned with the vision. And so we have 5-year rolling leases, which means every year we look at the lease again and it renews for another 5 years. So as long as we're in agreement, each year it extends by another 5 years, which is so needed for the farmer, to be able to expect that we can get we won't be displaced from the land that we're, pouring so much resources into. Yeah.
So do they provide the water and, things like soil, the compost or anything?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. And again, these are great questions. These are the questions to ask, right? For every farmer to figure out, whether the arrangement is worth it. So they have wells. So they have wells on the property, and they see part of the nonprofit world is they're able to get grants to help with some of the infrastructure. So it's not necessarily a cost for them, and then it's not necessarily a cost for me as a farmer. So that's, something I'm very grateful for. That's a blessing. So the well water, and then once the well is there, it's not like they have to keep paying for city water. Although they do have city water on their property as well. But in terms of irrigation, so the well is there, and then myself as the farmer, I'm in charge of setting up, a drip irrigation or sprinklers or whatever kind of water system from the water outlet that they have to, maintain my crops.
And you provide your own compost, or they have compost?
Yep. The compost. Yep. I'm responsible for our own compost, deliveries. Yep. Yeah. And that's where sometimes, like a great starting point could be vermicompost, which, making like composting, even just in your own home, the vermicompost is so biologically rich that you could take some of that and make a compost tea to, spray on the land and cover a huge area without it being a huge amount of compost, if that makes sense. So there's there's many ways to flip it. Yeah.
So what are you growing and who are you sharing it with or selling it to?
Yes, ma'am. So we partner with a few small, this is something that has changed over time. We started out growing all kinds of diverse, produce and some fresh herbs as well. And we would sell it at the farmer's market. And then, it's just seemed to be the case that, folks were not necessarily purchasing the fresh herbs. So what we started to do is go home and dehydrate the herbs. So we have an Excalibur dehydrator. And then we would jar it up and bring it back. And all of a sudden, this was a niche product at the farmer's market. No one else had these dried herbs, and they were selling really well that way. So, and it just seemed to be, and so meanwhile, all of these fresh herbs are kind of going bad, and some of the produce is going bad. So that's where it's like, well, one, we have to grow food at least for ourselves, right? Well, if you're going to grow on some land, we have to be growing food. But it has to work in the market. If you're going to try to make money, you know, farming, it has to be something that people are purchasing, right? So that's why it's very individual what actually works for you, your business, your vibe, your type of customers that you're attracting. So I was finding that, you know, people were really attracted to the herbs, so I started going more and more in that direction. So now we do like 70% of what we grow and sell is herbal teas. And we've really dialed in like high quality, you know, dehydrating and garbling the teas. So we're making a really like medicinal, high quality, you know, end product for the herbal teas. And then like 30% we grow diverse produce for specific partners. Like there's a statewide CSA, which is community supported agriculture, in Connecticut called the Liberated Land Cooperative. And it's a Black farmer run and operated. And, you know, so we specifically grow some produce for that cooperative. And we specifically grow produce for the local farm store in Hartford. So yeah, based on what she wants us to grow, is run by a Black woman. So that's the idea, is like, how do we support networks, ecosystems for a more equitable and just food system, you know? So yeah, other than that, so now we just grow for specific wholesale partners and then focus on the herbal teas.
I like that.
I really do too. I'm sorry to interrupt, Sister Melody. Do you all ship your products out?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, we do ship them. Yep.
So you know you have to give us that information, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And yes, we're so I'll drop our website in the chat here.
Okay.
And she has some things she wanted to share with us in terms of pictures or photos or something.
Well, the lease to build. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the Build-a-Lease tool, just so you know, folks get a and I'll share the link for this too, but I'll just quickly share my screen just to show you all, like, what is she talking about?
Yeah, that's important because, you know, what I find too, Sister Rashida and Sister Sarah, is that you might go in with one idea in a year or two or even 6 months. You might change up totally depending on, you know, what you grow or what works well or what the audience want. So, you know, I've realized that happens a lot, where you think you're gonna go in and have animal husbandry, and goats, and they're gonna run around and they're gonna do this and do that. It's so much to learn, but that's why I feel like, to be honest, you gotta be there and roll out the bed for whatever you do, because whether it's plants or animal husbandry, it has to be taken care of.
Yes, ma'am.
Between the watering every day, harvesting once, you know, that time comes. So
that's right.
I always ask people, like, how far are you going to be from the site you work at? If it's going to be part-time, if it's going to be full-time. Because
that's a great point.
A disservice to ourselves to a degree if we don't look at it more full-time than part-time. It can't, you know, that's my personal opinion. It's not a part-time piece of work.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. That's a fact. Absolutely. And sister, you bring up a great point of, like, you know, starting one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Like, what is it, like, before we do the whole dream farmland homestead where you have, you know, one of each animal, like, what is the top priority? Let's just start there, period. Because as you said, you find that these things are full time, you know, so adding one at a time is a great idea.
Yes. Oh my God.
Sister Sarah, while you pulled that up, I do want to ask how many are part of the group that you're working the land with? Because I know it's a lot of too much work for one person.
Yes, ma'am. Well, my particular 3/4 of an acre, it's mainly myself, and in the past we've had apprentices.
Okay.
We have some volunteers as well, and then the incubator farmers that we have out at the land, we have actually the daughter of the student minister at Mosque 13 in Springfield, Sister Valencia grows. She's growing on 1/8 of an acre. We have a Saska Foundation growing on 1/4 of an acre, and another sister. So we have 3 incubators in addition to ourselves, the Mod Gardens Initiative. But yeah, it is. I mean, it's so yeah. In the past, I've had apprenticeship help. Now it's, we have like weekly volunteer windows, but it's mainly me, and it is a lot of work. It is a lot of
Yes,
work.
it is.
And that's another challenge as farmers is finding qualified help, because there's a lot of romanticizing of farming, but then who's gonna come get this work done is something we all end up finding out, right? So but it's a process. It's a process because we're not taught and trained to even think this way, or to do this type of work. So it's a process. Yeah.
But what I find too, that I really thankful for the minister with Part 36, because you learn so much from that in the time and what must be done. Because it's really the best job and the first job that Allah gave to us. Period. Because there you can get your rest. Because once the sun go down, you are tired.
Yeah.
And once the sun come up, you excited. So that's like the best thing going for us right now. Once you got food, I think majority of us can say that we've had all the clothes we need. We had every Jordan out. We had every bag on, name brand this and name brand that. So we got food, clothing. Now, clothing ain't the big deal, and shelter that we need to focus on. So I'm praying that, a lot of us just realize what's really important and what's not. What's really important and what's not, because again, who I work with, at a place where I do a lot of food and stuff, and this not even the garden piece, but he said we eating mainly plastic.
Yes, absolutely.
It's really not even real that we're eating, and we still eating it. So we have to really take the time and really connect with people. So it's some sister that I know. She's moving back to Connecticut. So what was Liberty something you said?
Oh, yes. Liberated Land Cooperative. And sisters, let me just ask you, is when I'm dropping these links, are they going out to the audience, or is it just in the studio chat?
It's just a studio chat.
Okay. How can we share these links out? Because I can share a link for the Liberated Land Cooperative as well.
Right. My son said he can do it for us. He's going to put it in the chat.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Wonderful. So I'll just briefly share my screen just to so folks can see. Let's see.
And to be honest, sisters, like once you, let's say, just get a feel of it, some may love it, or they might find in some other area in that whole agriculture field that they might want to get involved in. It may not be bending down weeding. It may not be watering. Some people can't take the sun because of these medications they on. So there's so many areas that you could really help in. But the leasing thing to me is really good, so you could get a feel.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't say anything about the cost, but is it like a reasonable cost to do it?
The course for the leasing tool is absolutely free. It's just a free template.
No, I meant the cost for you to lease the land. Is it?
Lease the land at our farm. It's affordable. It's affordable. Yep. Okay. It's affordable. There's just limitations in how much land they have available, but yeah, we could definitely talk. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's going to vary from state to state and from place to place and things like that. But it's just something really to think about, because again, you might put your foot in it and say, "Oh, this is not for me,"
Yes.
Right.
You
Yes,
realize
ma'am.
the
Yes,
work
ma'am.
that's
It's
involved.
good to know that.
Yeah,
Right.
you think about the outcomes. We got to keep remembering, anything of value is going to be hard work. It's not
Absolutely.
easy.
That's what
Right.
we're
That's
taught.
right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that you're working to share your screen with us, Sister Sarah.
Yes,
So while
ma'am.
you're doing that, I want to just jump over to, because we do have a question.
Yeah.
You're not ready for the question yet? Okay, so we're not ready for the question yet. We only have 4 minutes left.
Yes, ma'am.
So
It looks like it's saying that all of a sudden it's saying that the browser has blocked my screen from being shared. So
uh-oh.
I'm
And
not
we just saw
sure.
it earlier.
I know we did. We did just do it earlier. Um, yeah, I haven't quite figured out how to fix that
Well, it's
issue.
in the chat. It's in the chat for those who are looking at the chat. It's in the chat, the Build-a-Lease link and the tool and the information. And Sister Sarah, you were saying that it actually asks you questions, right? And it leads you through it.
Yes, it leads you through it. So you just have to create a free profile. And then it's set up as a lease template. So it has an introduction, it has the different parties, the lessee and the lessor. It has the section 1 on the premises, defining the specific premises, the terms of the lease. And again, I highly recommend starting with like a 5-year lease. And again, you put in the provision that if the farmer, if you decide, oh, this is not for me, there's terms that you can, just mutually agree that you're not going to continue. So it's not like you're locked into it as the farmer
Right.
for 5 years. Like there's flexibility and there's ways that you can, put that in there. But just that you have the right, you can't be displaced if you have something going well for you. Yeah. Yeah, and there's sections about permitted, prohibited, and restricted uses. Like for example, I worked with a private landowner, and he said, "Oh, I only ask that you don't plant hairy vetch on my fields because it's a cover crop, but it can really self-sow a lot. So then all it takes is missing the window, and it's reseeding, and now it's almost impossible to get rid of. So that's something that, okay, we can put that in the lease so that you feel comfortable as a landowner, and I will agree to abide by that. So it's all these things you can that helps you think through any potential issues, right? If it goes through maintenance, if something happens with equipment, who's responsible for for fixing it? Is this a farmer's equipment, so the landowner can't touch the farmer's equipment, or is it the farmer has equipment that they don't want the landowner has equipment that they don't want the farmer necessarily using. It's just helpful to think through, and and Allah says in the Quran to like write up contracts.
Absolutely.
And so this to me is a great example of, okay, let's just step back and think through all these things. So that way, when something comes up, we have a document, and it's a legal document, so that protects both people. Yeah.
Right. And I want to jump right into this question because we're right at 6:30. So let's go ahead and. All right. So it'll pop up in our question box shortly. And I just want to return the greeting to everyone who's given us the greetings. Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have you.
Yes.
All right. So it'll populate soon. Here we go.
How did you find out leasing the land? Are you speaking of the tool, the Build-a-Lease tool? I found out through
I think she's talking about how did you find the land itself?
Oh, find the land itself. So that's a great question. It's like kind of an information network. It's how do you find out about the land? The best thing to do is talk to farmers in your area, because actually the majority of farmland that is even for sale or available, it never even goes on the market. It's like so
network and word of mouth.
Yeah, right. Talking to farmers. For us, how we found out about a lot of these things, UConn, which is the University of Connecticut, they have a big extension program. So they have a lot of classes, resources. They had a, land readiness course that, we found out about this tool and some other tools. So, so that is, so, and again, the foundations of the land grant colleges and universities are very inequitable.
Absolutely.
But if they're out there, find the resource and use it to your advantage is what I would say.
Right.
So,
and I go ahead. I do want to add that we've got to cut the show. I'm so sorry. We're at 6:31. And if we go too far over, the show won't hold its place on YouTube.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we are right at the time. You don't want me to close out yet? Okay. So we're right at the time where we're closing out. For those who joined us, thank you so much for joining us, Sister Rose. Sarah Rose, you got to come back.
Yes.
You have got to come back because you are a tremendous resource.
Yes.
So we have other questions, yes, that we wanted to get into because I do want to talk about some other ways that you have grown. So you and I will touch bases behind the scene to find out when you can come back. And until then, Sister Melody, Sister Sarah, I greet you all in the greeting words of peace. Our guest, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.